Hello, everyone. This is Robin Carter with Robin's Creations out of Flower Mound, Texas. And I'm here today to share some alternatives I have made with the Pick of the Crop Paper Pumpkin Kit for June 2022. So let me tell you, I just love this kit. They did a fantastic job, I think, with these cards. So it was pretty difficult to decide on alternatives, but I have a few today where I've jazzed up the cards and made some alternatives. If you are new to my channel, I would really appreciate if you would hit the subscribe button below to subscribe to my channel. And if you would like notifications of when I have new videos, click on the bell button below and you will get notifications of when I have my next videos. If you are already an existing subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing and welcome back, and I hope you find some inspiration to expand your kit. So let's get started. So I started out with the components for this card base right here with the fruit, and so here is what I came up with. So I came up with these two cards right here. So let me get started and we will start with this one. It's the easiest. I have some components here. I had a little video recording issues before, so I stopped and started over, and I will catch back up to where I am on this card. So what I did is I took this card base, I cut it in half at the score line, and then I cut the pattern right in half, which is about 2 1/8 inches. And they already come 5.5 tall, so I did not alter that part. So then I also take an envelope and I cut the sides off, just, a hair, and then they open up, and then I'm able to get the pattern paper here, and this is the bottom flap, which has this is the back of the envelope, and I have already embossed it using the just retired Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder. If you don't have those folders, you can either use one you have or just leave it plain because it's only going to show up a little bit here. Other things I used in this alternate were the watercolor pencils. And I love the watercolor pencils. They are very economical. I believe this one's $16 and this one maybe $12.50. Don't quote me on those. Anyway, I have had these for years. This one's even the old packaging. And they're going to last for years and years. So this is a great thing to add to your collection to be able to use. So I'm going to show you. I've already colored a strawberry and a blueberry. And then I went through my stash looking for other fruit items I had. And I had this lemon stamp from a kit from previous years, I believe in 2020. And so it's a lemon. So I'm going to use the crushed curry. Now, this does not look like crushed curry on the end. It's kind of brown, but it works out. So I just start and scribble. And I want it kind of dark, so I'm going to apply a little more pressure. And I like to color using the side of it. And if you ever need to sharpen these, I wouldn't sharpen them to where they have a fine point. This color inside is a very soft material, so it could break very easily. Okay, so that's that. It looks kind of yucky, but I'm going to take my blender pen and blend this around, and it just kind of turns it into a very smooth look. The good thing about their watercolor pencils is if you, during your scribbling, you got outside the line, you could erase it. So there is our lemon. You would do the same thing on the strawberry. Let me just go ahead and do this strawberry so you can see one more time. So I use the Real Red. Now for some reason it's almost needing sharpened, but my Real Red does not look real red, but it works great for the strawberry. So I want this kind of dark again, so I'm going to color the strawberry. Okay, that looks pretty good. But it's going to look even better Let me hold this up a little bit and get the stuff out of the way. Okay, so there's my strawberry before. And then I'm going to get my other blender pen. I have one, since I'm working with these main colors, already kind of dedicated to red, so that way I don't have to clean it off every time. These blender pens come in a pack of 3. And now look how smooth that made that ink. Very nice. So let me just color in the stems real quick. This is Garden Green, which is a coordinating color of the kit. And that same blender pen on the other side, just to smooth that out. Okay, so here we have our fruit. I'll save this one for later. And so long as you work quickly, you can use the thin Whisper White paper. You just can't rub and rub and rub your blender pen too much, or the paper may peel. Okay, so then we'll get back to the card. I've already done this part. So I cut a 2-inch strip off of this envelope that's 5.5 tall, trimmed it 5.5. And then I trimmed a 1/2 inch off of this envelope and put it on the end. And then the other half I glued to the back of this half of the card front. So now we can adhere this here. But let me show you. This one is hanging off a little bit. So I'm going to get my paper snips and just make that even, just like that. Okay, and then I forgot, I already did this one ahead of time. And since this had a pre-printed leaf or sprig, whatever that is, I did take the stamp and added one here to the bottom of this because it was just so white. So on your panel that doesn't have this, you may want to add that. And the ink I used for that was Soft Succulent. Okay, so back to this. Okay, I'm going to take my Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue that I have in a fine tip bottle and just put some dots around. Now I will say, when you do, I'll try to get an equal border there, about with what I put on that. That looks good. So I'm going to stand it up, tap it to make sure it's flush. And if it's just a little off, you can wiggle it around. I'll try not to wiggle my table. Now when you glue the envelope piece, I would be very careful and rub that glue in, because the envelope paper is quite thin. So if you're using liquid glue, you need to smooth that out and not use too much, or you'll show little liquid bumps could show through from the wetness. Okay, so to jazz this up, I wanted to create a basket of fruit. So I had in my stash a long retired basket weave, I think these were called Dynamic at the time, embossing folder. And I knew right away that would make a great basket. But if you've only been stamping recently, this is a retired Checks and Dots. This is the Checks one. And it also makes a great basket, which I've used on another card I'll show you in my next video. And so this is how I started. I cut it 2 inches long this way, and then 1.5 this way. And then I just trimmed up the side to make it look angled. So that does look a little bigger there, but it's not. All right, and then I took just a strip. I do keep little strips of my paper if they're straight, and this worked out great. So I'm going to trim this to 2 1/8 over at my side. I have my trimmer over here. 2 1/8. Then I'm going to glue this on top. So since I know I want it right on top, I'm going to put the glue on the basket. Just a fine line. And then adhere the little top of my basket. And try to see if it's straight. Okay, well, there we go. Isn't that cute? We made our own little basket. And I did use soft succulent cardstock in case I don't think I said that before. Now here's what I do next. I set my glue, or not my glue, my fruit where I kind of want it. And if you don't have this lemon, you could just use more strawberries and blueberries. Okay, so I kind of want it there, but I want my basket on dimensionals. So I have to find my dimensionals. Here's some. I just finish up ones from other kits before I get out the new ones. If you had the big ones that came in the kit, I would cut them in half. I do that anyway, but you would need that cut in half for small little objects like this. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 here. And then I'm gonna just attach it right now. Show you how I do this fruit. Okay, and then I want the fruit inside the basket. So I get my Tombow liquid glue. I put it somewhere. And I have this, oh, there it is. Found it. Just put it on the strawberry and tuck it in there like I like it. I'm gonna do the lemon. And then kind of put the blueberries on top. Cover the gap there. Okay, now I don't have a dimensional there in the center. That doesn't work. That goes on my pick tool. So I'm going to get another dimensional. And we'll turn this around for me. And I'm going to put it there. Well, there. And then I'm going to take off the thing. And now I have a dimensional there. So if I would have put it ahead of time, it might have gotten in the way of where I wanted my fruit. So I just added it there last. Okay, now the last thing we do is a sentiment. And I used a square from my new Stylish Shapes rectangles. And I used the second smallest. It's over in my die machine. So that helps me remember to tell you which one. Now, if you did not have that, you could use the rectangle stitch dies. You may have those. Those have been around a while. And if you use that one, use the funky little, the one that's odd shaped. It's not, it's just a little square almost. It's still a rectangle. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to get a little cushy Pierce mat because this is a photopolymer stamp. It helps me to stamp straight. Okay, I have it on the other side of my big leaf stamp, and I'm going to use Memento black ink. You could use the color that came in your kit if that's all you have. Oh, and I did stamp all my fruit in Memento. I didn't mention that at the video. Okay, that works. And then, because I wanted it kind of in the center of this, you could just put it there, but I had some retired ribbon, and I usually put it off both sides, but if I did it off both sides, it would hang off the card. So I'm just going to put this ribbon strip on the right hand side, and liquid glue does not work well with ribbon, so I would use either glue dots or tape runner. I have my dots somewhere. Again, I just use those as they come. We got a teeny tiny strip of them in this kit, but I have plenty from other kits. So just take your glue dot, put it in the center, take off the backing. I put that on the wrong side. Check before. Doesn't hurt anything though. Okay, that's on the right hand side. And then I'm just going to tack my ribbon to that. Okay, now I'm going to put my sentiment on dimensionals. And I'm sure there's a good label that came in the kit for this. Since I'm making alternates, I try not to use my labels first in case I come up with a different way to use them. So I make my own with my first alternates. Oops, it's very sticky. And there you go. So there are my first alternate. You get 2 cards using supplies that came in the kit. So how do you like those? Oh, put them in the, there are my 2 alternates. All right, so let's get on to the next one. My next card. So part of this last card we made was some fruit pieces. Let me get out the components for it. So we had these fruit pieces that were supposed to go on top of the fruit in these previous cards. So you would just put them with dimensionals on top. But I didn't use those, so I wanted to make a separate card for this. Now, you could use, there's this beautiful card base that came in the kit. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to recreate that for a background for this card. And then that way I'll have this to use later. So I got out a piece of white that I cut to a full card base front. And I kept that in my area for a guide. And then I always use a laminated grid sheet. So let me get that out. Okay, when I do my blending brushes. So then I got out coordinating what I thought was colors. I really think that's Blushing Bride, but I also got out a Flirty Flamingo if I wanted it darker. The Crushed Curry for the sky. And the Calypso Coral for to add some orange. And then this I used Mango Melody. Or Pumpkin Pie, maybe both. I think more Pumpkin Pie after I got started. So you need your blending brushes. Now I have one kind of dedicated to each color family. So I just need yellow. Well, we'll start with yellow. I'm sure my other pink brush will appear. Pretty sure I got everything out. I have a mess to my side of supplies. So I started with my yellow. And then I start off to the side just to get the ink flowing. And I know I want this right here. And I want some over here. Again, using this as my guide. I'm going to start light. I can always add more later. Okay, now it's time to find, let's do the bottom. Let's start with Pumpkin Pie. That's my orange brush. I'm going to start off in a different spot. And I'm going to, oh, if this is shaking my camera, I apologize. I'll try to be more, I didn't start off there and I have kind of a streak. But we'll make it, not much of it shows anyway. Okay. I guess that's supposed to be like a dirt road. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Okay, now I need my pink brush. That's red. Here it is, pink. Okay, so I'm going to start off with, Blushing Bride. I may need to go darker with the Flirty Flamingo. I didn't get any. Maybe time to ink that brush. Or ink the pad. Okay, that's very light. So let me get out the Flirty Flamingo. Let me close all these others before I make a mess. get this card back in the view for you guys. I can zoom out a little bit more. Okay, so let's get Flirty Flamingo. Start off on the side and just add some here. Start off to the side, Robin. I don't know why that little tap really helps the ink go on smoothly, but it does. So I'm using that sky card, and I'm probably shaking the camera. You know what? It needs a little more yellow up here. That's good. Let me blend this on down to the bottom. We're going to cover most of it up, so I'm not that worried. See, here's our finished card. So I'm not that worried about filling in everything. All right, and then I'm going to get just a touch of the Calypso Coral. And I find it more orange. But let me get a paper towel and wipe off the pumpkin pie. So I'm going to put just a little bit of Calypso Coral over, use my guide here, over here, just to give it a variation of color. Okay, that looks close. Close enough. Anyway, so what's really going to make it is when we get out make our alternate. Okay, so here's what I did for that. Let me get this messy thing. I'll just rinse it off later. Okay, so I took the fruit die cut piece, and I did this time use the checks embossing folder I showed you earlier. So I know I want that to go off the card like this. And this is already cut kind of flat, so I put it on my card. But because I have a hard time making a corner, I wanted this to go off. So something like that. All right, so let's glue this down about there. Actually, before I glue this down, you can see I used the stamp from the kit to put some, I don't know what that is. Somebody tell me what that stamp is. The greenery is what I'm going to call it. So I use soft succulent ink. And then I know it's about, I'm just going to use this card as a guide. All right, and then I'm going to take this off. If I can get my fingers under it. All right, let me move this other stuff out of my way. Okay, I do need a piece of scrap paper because I'm going to stamp off the side of it. So here's just some scrap copy paper that I've had to cut off. All right, and then I want my greenery. I'm going to ink it in soft succulent. I'm going to start off the side. Gives it a more realistic thing. And I'm going to vary the heights of them as I go along. So they look more real. There's no magic number here. And then this one off the side. I'm about to sneeze. Warning. Oh, excuse me. Okay. So there's our greenery, and now I can put the fruit on the card. Let me line it back up to where my basket will go off the edge. That's good. And that's going to go flat. I'm going to get my Tombow glue. And I'm going to pick this up Make sure I get it on the edge. I flip this over. Okay, that looks good. Then I'm going to glue down this side. Okay, now I've already embossed this piece. And this one is, just double check, should be about 1.5. Yep, it's right. It's a little less than 1.5. I think it was just a scrap I had. But if you were wanting an exact measurement, I would do a 1.5-inch basket. And now I'm going to glue this here. And it's going to go off the page. You can do the corner. I think that's good. Okay, so your next part, let that dry a little bit. Take your snips and cut it off. And then you're going to do the same thing here with the sides. Didn't quite get that one, did I? Try that one again. And you've got a little bit of, I have a little bit of strawberry. I'm going to cut off as well. Now, if you notice, you have this little piece here that doesn't have any basket to it. So I went in, this one had more. That's interesting. Or maybe I just made a bigger piece. It kind of just happened, you know? But I don't have another piece. But whatever you have left, I would go in and create a basket. You know, I'm going to cut this one off so it ends about right there. Okay. Now it'll look more like our other one. Interesting enough, not quite big enough. So let me get some soft succulent and emboss that. Just need a little square. Okay, I'm going to disappear and go emboss that. If I can find my embossing folder. Here it is. Okay, I'll be right back. I got my things over here and I thought that piece would be big enough. Okay, sorry about that. I am back. I'm back. Hope I didn't lose you. So the next thing I did was I took this one under and then I glued that there. So let me get my adhesive. Always, there it is. Okay. I'm going to tuck this under to where it connects there. Give it a second to dry, and then we're going to cut this off. Okay, and then the last thing to make it look like it's connected is to put just a strip of soft succulent, which I have these strips. And I'm going to put it right along there. Actually, I did these strips first. So let's do those. This one's teeny tiny. Good enough to work with. And cut that off. Okay, and then I need another strip. think these strips are about 1/4 of an inch. Quarter of an inch wide. Okay, and then the final strip just goes over the top of those two and covers the gap there. So that's the best I can do at doing a 2-dimensional basket that kind of goes front and back. So let's trim off these, and you could save these for your next card if you're making multiples of these. Okay, so there is our card front. All you need to do is put this on a card base. Now, what I added to this to give it a little more interest was, let's see, 2 months ago in April, we had the Change is Beautiful, and in there were some butterfly stamps. So it had this little butterfly, half butterfly, and it had a full butterfly. And so I added those to the card. I like to show people how to use your previous paper pumpkin stamp sets, that how they can go way beyond the intended cards that are sent to you in your kit. So I think I have some of those pre-stamped. Yep, there's and cut. And one more. Okay, so I would do the same thing. Let me get another one. That one looks kind of smudgy. That one looks better. And then I just colored them again with my watercolor pencils. I think I used the real red because it kind of looks calypso coral. I may try some, let's see. It does have a calypso coral look to it. I'll just do the same thing. And that one, and then I get my blender pen and make it all smooth. And then I use the black one just to fill in the stem very lightly so it's almost gray looking. Okay, let me fussy cut this little butterfly real quick. Okay, now I'm going to put him on a stem. On a greenery. I'm going to adhere him down flat with his wing kind of poking up. And then for this butterfly, I'm going to show you, you can use your pencils and curve his wings. And then I'm going to glue down just his body. There. And then the last thing we have is the sentiment. And again, I get just strips of paper that I have. Always when if you make a regular card front, sometimes you trim those to 4. And so if you do 2 to 4, you have half an inch left. So I have lots of these strips that I keep for sentiments. And I think I already have that on a block. All we need to do is our sentiment, which I cannot find. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to use my Memento ink. This says you are the pick of the crop. I'm going to go off to the side a little bit. Oops, didn't get that well. There's something on my stamp. Let me clean it off. two sides. Okay, that's pretty good. Clean that off. Now I used the Pick-a-Punch, the Lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch, to do the corners. So I'm going to do it in this side. I always flip it over to see it go through. And then that's the right side. I'm going to fix that little error with my basic black marker there. Now, when you want to do this side, you want to go, okay, I want it about here. You want to cut it 1/8 of an inch because this cuts off 1/8 of an inch of the end. So I'm going to trim this down. That might be a little close, but if it is, then I can trim the other side again. Stick it in the punch. Make sure it's even. Okay, so I'm going to do this side one more time to get it as close as the other one. And if you don't want the whole thing, you can pull it towards you. Okay, that looks good. So to help this stand out a little bit, I did add strips of my soft succulent. So guess what? I'm going to trim this one in half. And I'm just going to put these on the end. That's my error stamp. Just little flags off the end. Just using little strips left over that you lose because they're so tiny. Oh, I already have glue there. Okay, like that, and it's stuck to my finger. All right, and I'm going to put this up on dimensionals. And that's going to be the end of that card. When I find I get so much stuff out with these cards, I'll just get my other dimensionals. I have many little packs from kits, although I'm running low making my other cards. Okay, just kind of two on the side, one in the center. Again, if you had the full ones, I would cut them in half and decide where you want this. And so there is our card. I just have to mount it on a card base. All right, so let me move a few things and I'll show you the remaining cards. I'm already working on more alternates, so be sure and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Again, supplies I used were the watercolor pencils. I did use several ink pads, which you're probably, if you've been a Paper Pumpkin subscriber for a while, you probably have lots of spots. The one thing I didn't show is if you only have spots, let me get mine out. What I do when I watercolor brush is I tap the ink either on the back of a block or something laminated. So just make you a puddle of ink on that by pressing on it. And that way if you don't have the full pads to ink up, you just make you a puddle on that. So I use that. I did use various embossing folders, which are now retired, but maybe in your stash you snap those up while they were still available. And so tell me what you think. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you like these cards, give me a thumbs up. So that's those two. and these two from half of a card front. Now, I guess you could, if you wanted to, use this background, but it hides all the pretty greenery. So I'm going to make something with this later. And I don't know, are you guys crazy about this kit? I think it's so cute. And this card is just adorable. So I won't be cutting this apart. I think I have an idea for the awning. So check back with me later. Thanks for joining me for these alternates. I hope you enjoyed them, and this gives you some inspiration of how to expand your kit. Have a great day.